This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather Ho there, it's Jeff Carter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe on this date. And on this day, July the 23rd, 2009, one of the best no-hitters slash perfect games was thrown in Major League history, as Mark Buehrles was the hero against the Tampa Bay Rays in front of 28,000 fans in Chicago at White Sox US Cellular Field. And the game only lasted 2 hours, 3 minutes, which was unusual. It was the 18th perfect game in MLB history, the second perfect game in White Sox history after Charlie Robertson in 1922, and the 17th no-hitter in White Sox history. This was the first perfect game since Randy Johnson did so in 2004 against the Braves. And Buehrles actually logged his second career no-hitter because his first was against Texas, April 2007. And he actually set an MLB record, partially in this game, by retiring 45 consecutive batters over 3 games. So it was a huge matchup and all that. The Rays could get on base and all that, so they knew what to do. The funny thing was that Buehrles' perfect game was actually the start of the Rays being snake bit, having 4 no-hitters done to them in 3 years. After Buehrles' perfect game, the next year, May 2010, on Mother's Day, Dallas Braden threw a perfect game. Edwin Jackson threw a no-hitter against the Rays in Tampa Bay, part of the Diamondbacks, June of 2010. And the Rays lost to King Felix Hernandez in his perfect game August 2012, which was the last perfect game until Domingo Germán threw one in 2023. So Mark Buehrles was a 38th round pick by the White Sox. He was basically a reliever, but he would start to pitch well as a starter by the 2000s, and basically he was the White Sox ace. He threw a no-hitter against the Rangers on April 18, 2007, throwing 106 pitches and facing 27 batters, the minimum. He walked Sammy Sosa in the 5th inning, former White Sox at that. But then he picked off Sosa. That was the only guy to be on base and all that. This was the first White Sox no-hitter since 1991 when Wilson Alvarez, in his second career start, did one against the Orioles, which was shocking because Alvarez in 91, 2 years earlier, in 1989, made a start for Texas in Toronto against the Blue Jays and couldn't get out of the inning. This was the first White Sox home no-hitter since Joe Horland in 1967. So Buehrles was the opening day start for the White Sox and won the game. He was 5-0 to start his season. He was voted to the All-Star game in St. Louis and pitched an inning. Buehrles became an 11-3 pitcher after his perfect game. But the weird thing was Buehrles would not win in the month of August, which was unusual. So he actually finished 2-7 after his perfect game, making him 13-10. So anyhow, in 2010, Buehrles was the opening day starter, and he pitched 7 innings and gave up no runs. But everyone remembers his famous play off of Lou Marson of the Tribe in the 5th inning, when Marson hit a ball that bounced off Buehrles' foot. He managed to pick it up with his glove and threw it backwards between his legs without looking back, and Paul Konerko somehow caught the ball with his bare hand for out number 2. It was the number 1 play in baseball and all that. So anyway, the teams wind up this way. Tampa would start B.J. Upton in center, Carl Crawford in left, Evan Longoria at third, Carlos Pena first, Ben Silver second, Pat Burrell will DH, Gabe Kapler in right, Michael Hernandez catching, and Jason Bartlett playing short. The White Sox had Scott Bosanek At center, Alex Ramirez short, Jermaine Dye right field, Paul Konerko DHing, Carlos Quinton in left, Dwayne Wise would come in as a defensive replacement. Gordon Beckham at third, Jason Nix at second, Ramon Castro catching, and Josh Fields playing first base. Scott Kazmir would come in for Tampa and be the pitcher, but he failed miserably and all that. Anyway, in the second inning, Josh Fields hit a grand slam off of Casimir to make it 4-0. Scott Podsednik hit a double, and then Alex Ramirez hit a double in the fifth to make it 5-0. And that was all 5 runs. So anyway, it was amazing what could happen and all of that. After Buehrles made a gigantic strikeout in the 8th inning, Ken Hawk Harrelson, who was the White Sox broadcaster, says, "Call your sons, call your daughters, call your friends, call your neighbors. Mark Buehrles has a perfect game going into the 9th inning." And Harrelson was not going to contribute to some jinxing and all that. So anyway, the White Sox used Dwayne Wise to be a defensive replacement, thinking that something was going to happen. So he did, and then Gabe Kapler led off the 9th and hit a deep fly ball to left field. Wise saw the ball and somehow got his glove on it and robbed it as the ball was going to go over the yellow line, meaning a home run. So he just brought it back into the park, and it was just unbelievable. Harrelson set the ball deep into left center field. Wise back, makes the catch. Dwayne Wise makes the catch. What a play by Wise. Mercy. And then Harrelson said after the replay, "Under the circumstances, one of the greatest calls I have ever seen in 50 years in this game." Because Hawk Harrelson used to be a decent player. And then Michael Hernandez struck out. He gone. 1 to go. And then Jason Bartlett hit a ground ball to Ramirez. Alexei! Yes! 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 History! And the game was over within 2 hours and 3 minutes, which was unbelievable. Because the game started at 2:07 Eastern Time and ended 2 hours later. A lot of people did not like Harrelson's hometown favoritism, but come on. So anyway, the White Sox players ran onto the field. Barack Obama, who is the president and an ardent White Sox supporter, called Buehrles to congratulate him on his perfect game. So anyway, Buehrles couldn't believe it. And then the next day, July 29th, the next start, he threw 5 2/3 perfect innings. After getting Joe Creedy, he actually set the record for most consecutive batters retired. He beat Jim Barr, who had 41 consecutive batters and all that. And also Bobby Jenks. Buehrles would retire the next 3 batters, but walked Alex Casilla with 2 outs in the 6th inning, foiling his chance to become the first pitcher ever to throw a second career perfect game. Unfortunately, Dinar Span singled, which meant Buehrles could not go back-to-back with no hitters. Unfortunately, that would be the start of something terrible, giving up 5 runs in 6 1/3 innings and took the loss. And then he bobbled it. However, Yusimo Petit would break the record for consecutive batters with 46 over 8 appearances. So anyway, that was just massive. That was massive because of how big the moment was and how much you see a perfect game. I remember there was a Blue Jays game in the afternoon that day, and then I think they cut it into the White Sox game. But regardless of that, that was just amazing what the Blue Jays did and the White Sox did, especially with Mark Buehrles throwing a perfect game and in the style he did. Mercy indeed. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.